Hi, everyone, and welcome. I am thrilled to have a guest on today who I've actually wanted on for ages, and I finally got her here. Sammy, welcome, Sammy.
Thank you so much. Hi. Hello.
So as you can see, Sammy is full of life. She is one of my mentors. She is my brand builder mentor. And obviously being an entrepreneur and having lots going on, we need to know a lot of different things to make stuff happen. So this morning we're going slightly off topic again. I love a bit of an off topic Q&A, but it's also still massively on topic because this morning we're not talking specifically about horsey stuff, but all of this is so relevant because we're going to be chatting about the importance of community, understandings around how you can make a lifestyle out of your passion and still have money. You don't have to be poverty just because you've got passion. We're going to be talking about the fact that we're both wearing something very special here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. We're going to be telling you a little bit more about what that is, and just finding out more about Sammy and yourself, you amazing lady. So sharing some of your thoughts and passions too. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, Sammy. What brings you here today, apart from the fact I asked you?
It's so lovely to be here. What gets me up in the morning is being the one drop that I want to see in the world. And to me, that is about community and uniting change makers to be that brand that you want to see in the world. It's about showing up. You don't have to have a business to have a brand, by the way. You get to choose which brand you are and how you show up in the world each and every moment. You can create legacy in each and every moment. You don't have to wait until you die. You don't have to build lots of big stuff to create legacy. Literally, you being in your complete flow on your horse, just being in complete joy and the living the life that you want to and achieving the things that you set out to achieve, that energy that you create inside yourself by having that complete fulfillment means that rubs off and it emanates in everything that you do. And just like one drop, being that one drop for yourself leads to you creating these ripples that you have no idea that you are making. And you just get to show up as yourself. And by creating those ripples, that then creates a ripple for somebody else. And they don't even know that it's happening to them. And then they go and be a one drop. And then the other people get to be one drop. So to me, being that brand that you want to see in the world is not about having a business. Yes, I build businesses. I've built 10 of my own businesses. I run 3 businesses and travel full time on a boat. I am surrounded by water. Water is my thing. So one drop is something that obviously is important to me. But the key thing is that by being in that power, that energy of who you want to show up as, whether you have a personal dream where to be that championship horse rider, whether you want the mindset of somebody who just achieves everything they set out to, whether you just want to live in complete fulfillment every day. If you want to be that smiliest person in the room, that's your brand. If you want to live in complete fulfillment, that's your brand. If you want to be the most miserable person in the world, that's your brand. Just be completely intentional about what your one drop is and how you want to show up every day. And that's really why I get up in the morning.
Wow. So just a small thing then, just a small passion there.
One drop.
And I absolutely love that because, of course, I always think of this stuff through business because that's often my focus is my business. But then at the same time, it's so much about helping people be their best, live their best life, find their Eden, which is something that people will start understanding a bit more soon.
Yeah.
Finding their bliss, finding what's right for them, and following that and doing whatever they want to do to make that happen, whatever that might be. So I love that. And it got me thinking as well, as there's also, a lot of equestrian influencers. And so we call ourselves influencers if, some people are deliberately out there doing it. They're on social media, they're talking about things, they're showing people what they're doing, and they are deliberately an influencer to try and get known, get an income, increase their brand. But actually, what you've just said is that we're all an influencer, potentially, whatever we're putting out there. So tell us a little bit more about your thoughts about influence on the world. This idea of the ripple effect, the one drop, your influence.
Yeah, I believe that we all have the power to be that influencer, whether we're the influencer of our family and our home, whether we're the influencer in our relationship, whether we're the influencer in our work relationships, whether we're the influencer as the business owner or the thought leader. You get to really choose how you show up. And one thing that I always thought about myself was I always thought I was a late riser. I always thought, they say, you get the lark, up with the lark, or you're an owl, that, you do everything at night. And I always had done everything at night. So I thought that I was a night person. I never ever got up early. And I was reading books and listening to thought leaders say how they get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I used to think, oh, that's crazy. Why would you do that? And then I switched on and realized that actually what happens when I get up late is I get into doing things for everybody else. And that my time when I wake up just becomes everybody else. So whilst I was being the drop, actually, I was being this one drop that was spread so thinly. How could I be a real true one drop for each of the people who I want to support? And so I made a commitment to myself that I would get up at 6 a.m., but that I would do 2 hours working on me before I started working on anybody else. And I cannot tell you the difference in my energy. I thought I would be shattered, that I would be really tired, but the difference in my energy, getting up at 6 a.m. and doing 2 hours of what I call my hour of Sammy power. So I do an hour just working on meditation, affirmations, and mindset. And then I do an hour of learning of some kind. This to me is my strategic time. This is future pace. So whether I'm focused on what I want in my life or what I want in one of my businesses, what I want in all of my businesses, what I want in my relationship, I have 8 stepchildren, so I want to be a great mum. So how can I be that one drop for the kids at the same time as my nieces and nephews and my mum and my dad? And, there's a lot of people that we get up and serve every day, and we do it so unconsciously that if we could just spend whatever time you have for yourself, even if it's 30 minutes, do 30 minutes, just get up 30 minutes earlier and work on you as the one drop. How can you be the one drop for yourself before you start to be that ripple maker for everybody else around you? Because you're going to get up and you're going to either you're getting the kids ready for school, or if you're all at home right now, maybe it's getting up and making sure the kids have got what they need, or you might have a family member that's staying with you. You're going straight into being the one drop for them, or your husband, or your wife, or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your fiance, whoever you've got around you. And then you go to work and then you show up for everybody else. And this one drop becomes so thin that it can lead to enormous burnout. And I experienced that burnout after building my first 5 businesses, and I was building them all at the same time. And I really, really experienced that burnout because I was doing nothing for myself. I had the vision for the business. I had the goals for the business. I had all of these amazing things, and it was all around the business. Even my friends were business friends. It was like I didn't speak to anybody that wasn't connected to a business anymore, and so everything in my life, everything that was showing up, and I was creating that, and I was intentionally creating that. I was spending 5 figures a month on personal development in terms of the business. I wasn't spending personal development on me. It was personal development for the business, and amazing business coaches. I was completely crushing my financial goals month on month. But I had no goal for me. I had no vision for my life. So guess what? I didn't have a life. And what I realized when I exited my main business, built up a big designer marketing and branding agency over 7 years. And in 2013, I burned out so badly. I ended up in hospital 4 times in as many months. I had horrendous chest pains, panic attacks. I started to really deteriorate physically. And I think I was deteriorating physically because emotionally, spiritually, I had nothing else outside of the business. And so what I had was a beautiful house. I had a beautiful car. I had all the beautiful things. I had tons of money, no time to spend it. I didn't have the things that money couldn't buy. So I wasn't showing up as the one drop for me. How could I create ripples for me if I was spread so thinly and doing everything for everyone else? So I really learned the lesson about self-care and looking after your own mental health and your own spiritual health. And I'm not a religious person, but I do channel into my own spirit, and I get clear about what it is that I want. And actually, by having that time every day at the beginning of every day, what I found is the rest of my day is super, super intentional. So whether you're going to work in a job, whether you're going to work in your own business, whether you're going to work in your family, I think it's so important to put that attention and energy on yourself, because how can you be the brand that you want to see in the world? How can your business be successful? How can you successfully lead teams when you can't even lead yourself? So I think, Jenny, the work that you're doing is so important in making sure that the mindset is set. You know, that the compass is set, that the little radio station is tuned into UFM, right? That it's absolutely on point with who you are before you get on that horse. You know, I learned a really amazing lesson. I grew up around horses because my aunt was a stallion breeder, my dad's sister. Unfortunately, she died at 36 of breast cancer. So I was only 11 when she died. And it was like I'd been surrounded by horses and then I wasn't. Bang. Done. And I wasn't around horses again, really. And then I was on a documentary 2 years ago, and I tell you, it was just so I get this call from a lady called Sprite Loriano, who is the producer of this documentary. At the time it was called Changemakers. It then became Awakening Giants. So I get this call, and I think it's a bit of a joke at first. I think it's one of my business friends playing a joke on me, but no, this woman is deadly serious. She's chosen 100 global change makers, or she's set her intentions to have these 100 global change makers. I was one of them, and she wanted to divide us across 5 locations, fly us out to these different locations, put us under but she didn't say this at the time, but here's how I would describe it: put you under an insane amount of pressure to see how does a business owner, how do they deal with pressure and stress, and being put under that pressure in the moment, and the unexpected events that are thrown at you. I mean, there was no consistency in anything we did. But a lot of the things they did were like mind game stuff. It wasn't necessarily physical stuff. And some of it was a bit of both. Anyway, I went and did the first series, and they loved what I did so much. They invited me back for the second one as well. So in August, I flew out to San Diego and I did the first shoot. And then in November, I went out, and I think it was 2017. I then flew out to Ecuador. And we did all kinds of things on the Galapagos Islands, and you know, we were taken to some amazing places. And whilst I look back on it really fondly, I couldn't say that I really enjoyed it because the amount of pressure they put us under. And so we go to the University of Ecuador, and we're doing like TED style talks at the University of Ecuador, and they filled these rooms with hundreds of people. And so first of all, like, I'm a bit nervous because we're doing this, and you know, the expectations on you to deliver this wow speech that's going to be on a documentary. It's going to be forever kind of a legacy, whether you like it or not. And so I'm already a little bit stressed about that. And then they take us into this session in the morning, and they do this work which absolutely messed with my mind big time. So by the time we get to lunchtime, I'm a mess already, right? I'd already cried on camera. I had snot bubbles. And of course, they want to really zoom in. Oh, look how this person is going through this like horrendous time in their business. Ooh, isn't it fun? You know, I mean, they want all this stuff on camera. So I've gone through this insanely emotional breakdown in the morning. In the afternoon, they lead us out to this paddock, and we're all like looking at each other. What are they going to do? And they bring these horses out. Now, I hadn't been on a horse, I would think, for about 20 something years by the time they lead the horse out. And actually, I'm looking at the horse thinking, I love horses. I'm looking at this horse thinking, this is going to be easy. right? Everybody else is freaking out. And I'm thinking this is going to be easy. Like when we had to go and sleep with wolves overnight, 5,500 feet up in the mountains of San Diego, surrounded by bobcats and all kinds of things, right? Again, like I love animals. So I was like, easy. Yeah, no problem. So they lead these horses out and I'm thinking, all good. And then I get on this horse and I just seemed to go to pieces because I was so out of sync with my spirit and so out of sync. My mindset was all over the place because of what I'd been through in the morning. What originally looked exciting became a nightmare for the time that I was sat on that horse, and my legs were gripped to this horse so hard. And what they didn't tell us was that they were going to get us to ride the horse without a saddle and blindfolded. So already my head's a mess. I can't see because I've got this blindfold on me. I'm squeezing this horse for dear life. And my spirit and my mental health was so out of sync that this horse was all over the place. And you could really tell. And I had a person holding me either side because I was so fearful of coming off of this horse. And they walk us around the paddock, and they did about 3 laps of the paddock. And in the end, so Robin Burson, she was a horse whisperer, and she had spiritual and physio type practices for animals. She built up this great business. And anyway, so I've got her. She's one of the people on one of the sides, and she just keeps saying to me, Sammy, relax and let go. Relax and let go. As soon as you let go, this horse is going to get in complete alignment. You need your spirits to line up. You need your energy to align. Otherwise, this horse is going to be just like you. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be gripping onto everything. It's going to want control. This horse is mirroring everything that's going through your head. So just let go. And after 3 laps, eventually I thought, what's the worst that can happen? Just let go. And I went from like all over the place and gripping and wanting control and scared of losing it and all this fear to just letting go. And all of a sudden, the horse and I were just like this. And really what they were teaching us was if you just let go and trust, if you get into complete alignment with yourself, that horse is going to do exactly what you want it to do. If you get into complete alignment with yourself, your business is going to do exactly what you want it to do. You get into complete alignment with yourself, your team is going to do exactly what you want it to do. And every area of your life will become exactly what you want to manifest it to be, whether it's your brand, whether it's your business, whether it's you, a relationship, your children, your relationship with your children, even your animals, right? I came back from that experience. I got 4 dogs and 2 cats. I noticed that because I had changed, my animals became a lot calmer. And the training that I thought I would have to do with them to get them onto the boat, because they live on the boat with us, I was really panicking before I went out and did this thing, because I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to bark all the time. But what I realized when I came back and I was more in energy alignment, and since I started doing this 2 hours at the beginning of every morning, I could turn the camera around right now. You'll see my animals are just laid down, chilled out, because I'm chilled out. So as much of an emotionally stressful lesson that was to be taught, you have to be in alignment with whatever you're doing, because if you're not, then everybody else's energy is going to be able to affect you and impact you. Even going onto social media, you can wake up and think today's going to be the day. Like, I'm going to make it happen. This is when X, Y, Z. I'm nailing it. I'm crushing it. I'm doing it. And you get up and then you happen to glance at Facebook or Instagram and boom, that's it. Everybody else's energy just takes control of your soul, and that controls the rest of your day. And nothing gets built from that place of distraction and overwhelm and frustration, and that kind of the every fiber of your being in stress. And you might not even feel stressed. That was one of the big things that I learned when I was building my businesses, was I didn't feel stressed. I thought stress was something that weak people suffered from. I didn't feel stressed. I was very masculine as well, leading that company, but I was surrounded by men and I'd grown up in a corporate environment. So pretty much everything about me, even the way that I stand, I remember going to Power to Achieve, an event that Jenny and I were talking about on my show yesterday. And I remember going, and the guy that was running it, he said, right, and so guys, they stand like this, like cowboys. And I looked down at the way I was standing. I was like, holy frickadoodles, I'm actually standing like a guy. Everything about me was masculine. And that just was quite a shock, actually. And so I had to get to the point where I was able to put that mirror up to myself and think, okay, so, I think that I've got this great life and I'm doing these great things. But actually, when I look at the reality of what's showing up around me, is it them or is it actually me? So it's a really good question to ask.
That's amazing. And I love that whole story. There's just so many metaphor in there, just so many incredible things. So just to pull out some things to touch on everything that you've just said about burnout, and anyone who knows me and who's heard my story knows that I'm exactly the same. Came from a male dominated telecoms corporate environment, burnt out because I was being controlled. I was having to be something that wasn't right for me, even though on paper it was right, even though apparently I was doing well, I didn't feel it. And the interesting thing was, the thing that really made me realize it as well was working with the horses. And I was training in exactly what you've been talking about there, which is called equine assisted coaching or equine assisted therapy, equine assisted learning, lots of things for. And my horse was constantly showing me that I was not in line, because she was a mare, beautiful mummy mare as well. She'd had babies and things. And she just would shut down. She'd just shut down and go like, nope, I'm not listening. I'm not going to sort your stuff out. I'm not listening. And exactly like mummies do, like just go and deal with that yourself. That's not my problem. You go and sort that out. And it was really interesting because I was stressed and I had her on livery. So obviously I was just turning up to ride and things like that. And every time I got on that mare, she just refused to do what I wanted her to do. She'd just go around going, la, 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 la. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. And I was like, why are you not listening to me? And she's like, because I have to zone you out, basically. I don't want to be around you. You're horrible. Like, you're this stressed person that's coming up to me and going, will you do what I want? And my results were getting worse. My dressage was horrendous. The fact was I wasn't having time to train as well, because I was just like literally booking competitions in every weekend and thinking it would get better. So, it's learning. I had to serious lessons, like you say, learning what I had to do. But so, and not just about me, but so many of my clients that I work with really don't realize the impact that the rest of their life has on their riding. And, as much as we'd like to think we compartmentalize, we don't. The brain works in the same way across all of our stuff. It's same patterns all the time. And I love what you say about just taking some time for yourself. So if people think about, a lot of people love to muck out or poo pick the fields, because it's very mindful. You're doing a very simple task and it allows your brain to process. And I have to say, in some ways, I hope my yard owner doesn't hear this, but I do miss poo picking sometimes. Not in the rain, not in the cold, but on a beautiful day like today, because it was my time to just be, to just process, to just, think. And so there's probably a lot of people listening to this thinking, well, that's all very well. There's this lady with lots of wealth who lives on a boat who's telling us, take time for yourself and all these things. But actually, I've got a career and a job and children, and I have to look after this horse, and, I want to compete and I want to do all these things. Where on earth am I going to find time for myself? And I often say to people, driving is a lovely time.
Definitely.
Because again, you're having to concentrate on something physically. Mucking out, poo picking. If you don't do that bit, then, the type of rides where you're not riding to achieve something in that moment. You're riding just to be with your horse. And actually, this means hacking out if you can, or just riding that day just to do something simple, do some walk work, or just, going for a chat with your horse or what have you, or just grooming them. Those kind of things are just being around them.
I think the things that create the most wealth are the simple things, aren't they? Because no amount of money made me happy. All the money that I had drove me to being that far away from a heart attack. So I'd rather have nothing and live really simply. In fact, we literally and deliberately sold everything, or we gave it away in January to buy a boat. So we went from 23 rooms in this house to a 1-bedroom boat. Now it's a big boat, but it's a 1-bedroom boat, which is significantly smaller. I remember standing in the kitchen of the house just before we exchanged the keys over. And I remember like standing in this kitchen thinking, you know, this kitchen is the size of the space we're about to move into. So we've simplified so that we could get rid of all of that stuff. So we spent all these years building up the stuff and then went, you know what? None of this stuff actually makes us happy. Let's just give it away. Let's just sell it and just lose the stuff and get focused on our own happiness and our own joy. And I think that, you know, from all the entrepreneurs and the influencers that I spend my time with, they're exactly the same. And what I developed was with OneDrop, I realized there are a lot of people like you and I who don't have time. Like I'm getting up 2 hours earlier than I usually would just to make this time. And it just happens to be working for me. I never believed it would, but it is working for me. But what I did when I didn't have the time was I used my OneDrop as an anchor. And that's why I designed the OneDrop, because there were so many of our Brand Builders Club members that were saying, Sammy, you know, you do your OneDrop practice every day. How do you do it? And so I mapped it out and I created a meditation and the OneDrop pendant. And my mum makes these pendants. We spent 11 months last year designing and getting the pendant to exactly how I wanted it, so that each and every one is completely unique. They look the same, but one might have one tiny little bubble in it and another, you know, I wanted to make them so that they caught the light as soon as you stood on stage or you're wherever you are, you just in the first thing in the morning. Before I even open my eyes, the first thing I do is I place my hand over my, because I don't take it off, place my hand over my OneDrop, which is also over my heart and communication area. And I do my meditation, and it's a few minutes. It's not an hour, right? And I do this before now I go and do my 2 hours of stuff. So even if you just did that, got your OneDrop, just, you know, don't take it off, or even if you want to take it off and put something else on during the day, but just overnight, just remind yourself in this peaceful time that you are your own OneDrop, and to look after yourself, because we've only got this one body, and who knows if we come back again. I don't know. I'm going to make the most of this experience just in case this is my only experience, but I'm going to make sure that I live each and every day in my OneDrop energy. So I mean, you can go and join the Facebook group, and you can go to www.onedropmovement.com. You can get your OneDrop, and when you get your OneDrop, you can then join the Facebook community, and that's where the meditation is. And I've got a little affirmation that I've given to everybody, so you can put it on the screensaver on your phone just to remind yourself, even throughout the day. Just take a minute for yourself, and you know, hold that OneDrop and remind yourself that you make a difference and that you matter and that you're important. You're needed, you're necessary. You were put on this earth for a reason. And, you know, maybe you're not living the actual reason. Maybe that reason is moving its way towards you. Maybe some stuff in your life isn't going well and the universe is just trying to guide you to the place that you're meant to be. You know, who knows where each of us are at and how far on our journey we are towards what we're meant to be doing. But what I do know is that I can be doing what I feel like I need to be doing while I'm in my OneDrop energy. So if all you do is that's going to start getting you in complete alignment. You'll notice that other things around you, even if that 2 to 5 minutes a day, just focused on that, just get up, then go. And like you say, Jenny, but like being in the car, listening to podcasts, just doing one thing each day for yourself, mucking out, going to the toilet. Oh, you know, everyone's got to do that. You know, no one's going to have a go at you if you disappear to the toilet, and, you know, just be at one with yourself if that's what you've got to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting what you say about being yourself and being true to yourself and being in that moment. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people, it's really funny when they go onto my courses and there are mindfulness exercises in there, and you could call them meditation, mindfulness. There's lots of different names. They're kind of little differences to each of them, aren't there? And they say, oh, I didn't think I'd want to do that kind of stuff. But the difference it makes just listening to, I've got 5-minute one, a 15-minute one, just listening to those each day, just reminding yourself yourself that it doesn't matter. You are awesome. Stop comparing yourself to other people. Just be who you want to be. Just do what you want to do. All the fear is actually a load of nonsense. It's just fear. It's just your brain putting blockers in the way because it thinks it's decided your destiny. And it hasn't decided your destiny. And I always say to people, if it's decided your destiny, can you tell me the lottery numbers, please? Because you must know something I don't, you know? And when we look at really amazing horse people, when we look at horse people that we admire, that are doing really well, that are the people that we just want to be around because they've just got this way of being with the horses that's incredible. There's no force, there's no ego. When we're around those people, it's because they are in their place, their energy. And they're often, it's really interesting, often they're very quiet people.
Yeah.
They're not big shouty people around the horses. They're not forcing them or making them. Actually, often the best horsewomen and women I know are the ones that are the quietest people, that say the least. They're just there, and the horses love that. Like you said in your story about, you know, just relax and trust. Just let go and trust. Let go and just let go and trust. And I don't know about you, I think you've probably had some of these situations as well, but I've had times in life where I've been at a crossroads and I've had to make a decision, and I've stood there shaking, thinking, do I do this or do I not? Totally. And I literally remember doing that once. Like, I knew something was going to really make a difference and that I was going to implement it, but it was the last bit of something I had to make it happen, and it was risky as hell. And I just was literally shaking as I signed this form, like, what am I doing? But it was actually, I can think of a few really good moments like that. But because I'd committed to doing it, I'd committed and said, I'm going to make this happen, that the change then came because of that commitment. And I often say that to clients as well, just commit to it. If you're not sure, just commit to it. Because between us saying, yes, you're going to do this, and us maybe having our first session or logging into the first thing or joining the group or whatever it is, things change just in that time because they've said, this is going to happen, and they've trusted. Yeah. So one of the things that I really want to talk to you about is the power of community. Yeah. So we've talked about the ripple effect and the effect that we have by making one action that may not even seem that much to us at the time, but that others see, do, repeat, and it ripples out. And it's such a beautiful metaphor. So tell us then about, you know, the power of community, the power of people around us, the power of who we surround ourselves with, because I know that's really important to you as well.
Yeah, big time. Well, but I think what we've got to do is also, once we've decided who we want to be in the world, we've got to surround ourselves with other people that enable us to show up in that way. Because you could be surrounded by lots of people who are very, very different, but you've all got your one common goal. And actually, I embrace that difference. I love how different everybody is in the Brand Builders Club community. Every single person is so different. And we all learn from each other. But the greatest thing is that we all have this kind of, it's almost like an invisible code of ethics, right? And I actually turned that code of ethics into a code of impact that we all live, breathe, eat, sleep, walk, and talk by at Brand Builders. And by being in that power around your own personal values is really, really important. You know, one of the things that I find challenges brand builders, certainly, and I can speak from my brand builders point of view, because obviously it's a community that I've built and I understand it and I know everybody in it. And then we've got the How to Build a Brand community. There's about 6,000 people in that community. And so there's mindset, you know, no matter how big you want your community to be or how you're growing it, whether there's, you know, it only takes one person to start a community. So once you've got that start, then it's just making sure that you have that culture, I guess. And if you have it, then it's going to start manifesting everywhere else. But here's some of the things that I see quite often with people who join and don't have that support at home. And they become a member and they're getting all of this amazing support that's filling them up in the community. And then they go back to the reality of a very unsupportive partner or husband or wife, and that person doesn't believe in what they're doing. And it's so disheartening. And so the power of community is incredibly important because, you know, and I've seen it totally change as one of our long-standing members, when they came from a very, very successful corporate career, built their first business, burned out, had to walk away from the business. So they saw themselves as this massive failure, started to build themselves back up again, went through one of my challenges. She then approached me and said, look, I'd love to have a one-to-one with you. I'm thinking of starting my business again. But by that point, the business had failed. She'd gone into this corporate career because it was easy. It was a fail safe. She went back into that. Her husband was supportive of that right up until that point. But I guess because what he'd seen before, he'd seen the burnout and he'd seen what she'd gone through. He'd gone into protective mode, didn't want her to go through that pain again. And also her pain caused the family a lot of pain. And so he's on high alert by this point. So then she decides she wants to build another business, but she wants to do it the right way this time. So we have this conversation. She comes out to one of my retreats at my family home in France. We spend a week together in a group of 6. We brainstormed this new business and off she goes. She starts creating this new business. Well, I started to notice like she was doing this while she was with us. She was just absolutely, the trajectory of her confidence, everything about her lit up. She was in pure magic the whole time that we were together. Then she gets home, and then I noticed she was a bit quiet for a couple of weeks afterwards. So I'm like tapping in and how's it going? And she's giving me the answers probably that she thinks I want to hear. And in the end, I said, look, let's jump on a call. There's something that I'm not feeling. We jump on a call, and it turns out she's gone home and been completely slammed by her husband, who doesn't believe in this business. He can't see where the money's going to come from, and that's the thing, right? And that's what I find is the common thing. I can't see where the money is in this business. There's no money in what you're doing. Why are you doing it? Just go back to work. And so he was really, on this path. And so she's coming into Brand Builders. She's getting this amazing energy. We're like this umbilical cord for her, filling her up, topping her up, supporting with the ideas, affirming what's a great idea, giving her feedback on the things that weren't so great so she can just get it right first time. She goes back into her business while her husband's at work. She's absolutely on a roll. He comes home, flattens her again. So then the next morning we're starting from scratch. And that happened until the point that she launched her first book. So she launches her first book, and he comes to the book launch and he sees, oh, okay, actually this could be a business. But in the meantime, he's still projecting his stuff onto her. So she goes through, she does this amazing launch. He says, I'm really proud of you. He bought her this necklace and, it was absolutely lovely. And then she starts to go back into the business again, and he starts all over again. And she ended up having to have a really courageous conversation with him to say, look, this isn't going to work for me. I feel like I'm finally making tracks with my destiny. I finally feel like I'm completely on purpose. I'm not pushing this business. Everything that's happening is happening easy for me. I feel like it's what's meant to happen. This is where I'm meant to be. And if you don't like it, then you don't have to be a part of it. But I will walk away. And I remember her having this conversation with me and telling me what had been said. And he said, okay, I'll try, right? But he did actually try. And she started slowly but surely, her confidence started growing, because not only did she then have the support in the community, she then had the support at home as well. And she's now gone on to build a significant coaching business. She runs retreats herself. She publishes books. She's got this amazing program. She's launched a membership. Brand Builders has supported her through all of that. But what I would say is community is only one part. I think what we've building that community is really important for yourself. I think if you build a community, or in fact, I don't just think, I've proven it many thousands of times with the people that I support, is that if you build a community or a movement around anything, you will always sell more of it. So if selling or building relationships and not feeling lonely anymore, if, whatever your reason for doing it, community is so powerful. And we were born to be part of a tribe. It's in us, right? We hunt together, we grow together, we support each other, and everybody looks after the child, not just one person. And that's how it's meant to be. But I think as we've kind of grown as human beings, and as we've gone more online, and now, this artificial intelligence and augmented reality, and there's all of this stuff that's forcing us to be so insular and just be on our phones or just be focusing on ourselves, that we forget that the power of community actually starts here with our one drop, which then goes on to ripple into everybody who's around us. Our energy makes a massive impact on everybody else's energy around us, whether it's an animal or whether it's a human or even an object. So, like somebody could pick up an object that somebody has been holding who's got really horrible, awful energy. You want to put that object down. You might not even know that person, but you've automatically, we're made of energy, so we're automatically picking up on that. So I think the power of community is incredibly important, but community does also have to start at home. And also the big thing about being part of a community as well, not just creating one, but being part of one, is to participate. And I think a lot of people think they've got to spend a lot more time participating than they actually do. If you just spent 1 minute a day, just do a little Facebook Live, or just put a picture in that will make someone smile. Just do one thing, one drop every day that creates a ripple for somebody else. You will create massive waves. Ripples make waves. And individually we're one drop, but together we're the ocean. And that's how one drop movement really started. Individually we're one drop, together we're the ocean. And when two or more people have one similar thought and you're on one same aligned track, it is done. So it is. So, it's really powerful to bring that sense of community, but you've got to show up. You can't just turn up to a community and expect to take. Yeah. You've got to give first. And the more you give, the more you receive. The more you receive, the more you can give. And then there's this infinite flow of one drops, which becomes this tsunami of whatever you want in your life. I'm kind of scared to have a thought, good or bad, right? So I have to be very intentional that my thoughts are good, because like it manifests like that. I can think about somebody and they'll send me a message. I haven't spoken to them for 15 years. That as you start to really get into your one drop energy, it'll just flow into absolutely everything. Things will speed up, and you're putting your foot flat on that accelerator, but you've got to take your foot off the brake and trust that it's on its way.
And that's absolutely amazing. And every time you said community, I thought about the horse community and the people out there. And there is so much at the moment. There is so much good. Don't get me wrong. There's an awful lot of good out there, and support and loveliness. There is also a lot of competitiveness, slamming. Someone sees a picture and slates it. Someone else, doesn't feel good enough because they've seen someone doing well. The power of community and the power of manifestation, like you said, the power of thinking it and it will be kind of thing, and the ripple effect can also flip completely the other way, can't it?
It can, it depends what your energy goes in with. I've really noticed this a lot, especially recently with what the world's going through. There are a lot of opinionated people out there, and one of the things that I was most concerned about becoming an influencer was that that I would put things out and I would get slammed. That was one of the things. And so I played really small and safe. And, I built these gorgeous communities. I was very careful about I have been very careful about who I invite in, because it needs to be a safe place, not just for everybody else, but for me too. And I played really small. And then through doing the 2 hours of work that I've been doing, I realized that actually, if I show up as somebody who wants to sell something, and my ultimate intention is for me to get something out of it, and I see this with other people. Fortunately, touch wood, it hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it happen to other people. And as soon as they go into it with an energy or an outcome that they want something from someone, that's when they get slammed. The people that go into it to just give without any intention of receiving, you don't really ever see them getting slammed, do you? They're the ones that are giving. They're just putting something out. They're not putting a call to action in it, other than a call to action for the person on the other end of it to go away and do. There's no sale. There's no what's in it for me. And I see those people are just living in complete grace, complete gratitude, complete generosity, and they are three things that I focus on whenever I post anything. I think, is it generous? Am I being grateful by posting this? Is this something that, is gracious? Is this something that does something for other people? Is there an intention behind this where I want something out of it? And if there is, I don't post anymore. If I think, oh, well, I'm doing this so that I can get this, I'm just opening myself up for criticism and trolls. And, it just, if you go into it with the generous energy with everything that you do, how could anybody argue with that? I remember very early on, in fact, I talked about this at the conference that I was speaking at, where you and I met, Jenny. I was watching the replay of it yesterday, taking little excerpts to get it up on the YouTube channel. And I was listening to myself talking about, the energy and being that person you want to see in the world. And I noticed that I was talking about how you show up and who you are and what you attract. And I remember being really terrified about trolls because I had friends who, a really dear friend of mine, Penny Power, her and her husband Thomas, they built this massive business called E-Academy years ago. It was before LinkedIn. They had over 600,000 members. These are personal mentors of mine. I'm part of a mastermind. I see them every month. We've been chatting this morning, and part of her story is they got really trolled badly. She really did get really went through hell and back because of trolls. And, we've had quite a few conversations about it, because I said that's the thing that I most fear. This was when I started working with them last year. And she said, but, what I realize is that my energy was actually creating that. And she said, what I didn't focus on myself. It was all business. When I started to focus on me and get myself into alignment, everybody that was attracted to the business were all of a sudden people that were in alignment. So I think we have this fear sometimes about how other people are going to respond to us being in our flow and being great. But I remember being really fearful of this. And another dear friend of mine, Barbara Brown, she said to me, Sammy, just let the light be your sword. Don't worry about anybody else. You don't need to cut anyone down. Because I said to her, I don't want to be like all these other people. I know that I've got a duty to get out and speak. I know that it's my right to claim my authority in this industry. I know it's my duty to do so. But I don't want to do what all these other people are doing. And at that time, I was surrounded by people who, were stepping over each other, were cutting each other out, it was just ugly. They were just selling this whole pitch and grow rich thing. It didn't resonate with me at all, to the point that I just stopped speaking. I actually stopped speaking for quite a while. I went silent online for maybe 6 to 9 months. Having been really influencer to couldn't find me anywhere. And it was because I'd gone into this massive fear. And I didn't want to be like these other people to get where I knew I needed to be, but I didn't know the strategy of how to do it another way. And when she said to me, Sammy, just be yourself, I realized that I'd been trying to look for the strategy outside of myself. And I was looking for mentors, that were on the same level on the earth plane as such. I'm looking for mentors. Couldn't find anybody that really inspired me. I didn't want to be like the people that I was surrounded with. And so, it was, but the skills that they had, I knew I needed to use to be able to, it was just this awful mess, really. And I didn't feel good. It didn't feel in integrity. So when she said that to me, in fact, I had quite a bit of a meltdown. I went through about 3 weeks of not knowing what to do, where to go. It was like, I know what I don't want. I know who I don't want to be like, but I don't know who I want to be like. I don't know anybody that I want to be like. And actually, my husband, in the end, who's an excellent coach and brilliant with mindset, in the end, he just sat me down. He went, Sammy, I've gone as far as I can go with you. I don't know how to help you. You have to get some help. You have to think about what you're doing. And I realized that, he was right. And he couldn't coach or mentor me because he was too close to me. But the other thing was that actually I was so freaking busy trying to look at like who would inspire me, who could inspire me, that I wasn't looking in the right place. I wasn't looking in here and I wasn't looking up there. And I thought, oh, well, what if I just got completely in tune? You know, I had a couple of conversations with, I did send a text to 3 people who I was close to. One of them was Daniel Priestley, the founder of Dent and Dent Global. And he said to me, Sammy, you need my dad. My dad is excellent. So Andrew Priestley, who's now one of the mentors in Brand Builders Club. In fact, he published all of the Law of Brand Attraction books. You know, he said, you need my dad. He's brilliant with X, Y, and Z. This is what you need from a business perspective. I went, brilliant. So I hired his dad, Andrew, immediately. I reached out to Andrew. Andrew's been my coach on and off now for about 5 years, and a dear friend. The second person that I contacted was Thomas Power. And I reached out to Thomas, and he immediately came back to me, said, give me 40 minutes. And then we jumped on the phone. We were probably on the phone for about 40 minutes, and he gave me all the advice I needed for other parts of my business. Brilliant. Thank you so much. The third person that I texted him back and I said, thank you so much for coming back to me, but I've actually got what I need now. I don't need to speak to you, so I won't waste your time. And that was it. But I got off of the phone from them, and I realized I had all the business elements of it mapped out, but I still didn't have me mapped out. And so spiritually I needed to work on myself and emotionally and mentally as well. And so that's when I had a conversation with my friend Barbara, who's also in Brand Builders. She's a brand builder in Dallas in Texas. And she just said to me, let the light be your sword. You don't have to cut anyone down. You don't have to be like anybody else. Just shine the brightest, and those other people, they'll just fall away, and all you will ever attract will be other lights. So you know, that was a way of me getting through that process. A long-winded way. Sorry for taking so long.
No,
but it was, you know, it was just that sometimes we've just got to go through the process. I mean, you can certainly speed up the process by listening to a story like this and thinking, oh, great, I don't have to go to 2 years or 3 years like she did. You can just go, oh, thought pattern, okay. Contact the master in this, the master in that, and then master yourself. And if you do that, then, you know, but always remember that your mentors aren't just here. Your mentors are also guiding you, whether you believe in spirit or source or God or universe, whatever it is. You have to have faith that there is something bigger, and there is something bigger that's guiding us. And if we don't tap into that, then we're always just going to be doing, and we're going to be doing really hard. And doing is hard. Being
absolutely
is in flow.
And it's lovely, actually, because that story that you told about you finding your light it's got so many parallels to a story of a client that I had who came to me because she had a particularly difficult horse who'd had problems and had thrown her off and things as well. And so she wanted to get over the fear aspect of that, to be able to continue competing and doing well with him and going up the levels. That was the plan. She got in contact with me and we worked through some of that stuff. Then we always go deeper. I don't just look at symptom, we always go causation. And actually, we ended up getting to the point where she realised that he wasn't actually the right horse for her. And long story short, she actually had to have him put to sleep. She's very sad, but the right thing. So then she went to get another competition horse. Because that's what she wanted to do, apparently. She wanted to compete. She went and got another competition horse. And all the stuff that surrounds having a competition horse that you've got to, like you say, you've got to be doing. There's a lot of doing involved in competing and performing and doing well. And she realised one day on this yard that the horse was lovely. It's really nice. She just realised that actually she didn't really want a competition horse anymore. She actually didn't want to be on the dressage treadmill. She didn't want to be aiming for more all the time. That wasn't what it was about. So she sold him. And she went out looking for a horse, and she came to me for a session because she was on one of my packages. And she said, right, you know, like, I know kind of what I want, but I don't really know what I want. So we did a session that wasn't about, you know, age, sex, height, that kind of criteria that people normally look for in a partnership, whether that be a human or a horse. Right. We went for much more, what's it going to feel like when you sit on them? What's it going to be like when you ride them? What does your heart say you want to be doing? Is it really going up through the levels of dressage? Is it just enjoying your horse? This is your downtime. This is your hobby. It doesn't earn you money. What do you want to be doing with it? Anyway, so one of the things she came across, one of the things that she said was, obviously, I don't want a grey horse. Now, a lot of people will say, I don't want a grey horse. And anyone, I don't know if you can see behind me a picture. No, you can't see a picture. I have a grey horse because I said I didn't want a grey horse. And anything you say you don't want, can't be processed. So we all end up with grey horses. It's because of the amount of time it takes to clean the poo off all the time, right? And so anyway, so she came and she wrote me this note with this picture of her looking so happy on this grey mare, saying, I didn't want a mare and I didn't want a grey, but she's perfect. And she's having an absolute ball now, because that horse aligned perfectly with what she wanted, and the sex and the colour didn't matter. Yeah, and she's in flow and she is loving it. And actually she did a Q&A with me as Carla Butler, if anyone wants to listen to that one.
I have a great story about law of attraction, about, well, this must have been about 2017. This taught me a huge lesson. So we went and delivered this cruise. So I took 16 entrepreneurs on a cruise around Mexico. We did a brand builders cruise. It was January 2017, and so off we go. We go on this cruise, and Bob Doyle from The Secret, who's actually wrote the foreword in the Law of Brand Attraction book, he was one of my speakers on this cruise. And so we're going around and we're traveling and we're having a whale of a time. And so we get to the end of this cruise, and Bob says to me, whenever you're in LA, you're going to have to come and stay. Like, you know, we got on so well, you're going to have to come and stay. So we do this cruise. Then I go straight to Canada from this cruise, which was a hell of a shock because it's January or end of January going into the beginning of February. I've gone from like stupid hot on this Caribbean cruise or cruise around Mexico to minus 40 in Calgary. So we fly into Calgary. I'm dressed like this because I'm dressed for a cruise. Wasn't prepared for like walking out into the cold and your nose totally freezes up. I mean, it was just crazy. So we go and I deliver this retreat in Calgary. And so we go out, we do this retreat. And actually, Barbara, let the light be your sword, Barbara was on the cruise, and Barbara says to me, Sammy, I've learned so much from you this week. I feel like I need to be with you again. Like, you know, can I come to Calgary? And I said, well, of course you can, you know, just you got to work it out, but here's where we're going to be. So she flies back to Dallas from New Orleans, where we sailed out on this cruise. She comes and meets us in Calgary. So we do this retreat and in the Rocky Mountains, and then she says to me, Sammy, I'm not ready to leave you yet. I'm like, because her husband had been running the business and her husband was dying. So she needed to master how to take over this business from him. So she's like learning everything that I'm teaching as we're going through, and she's working on the business. She's starting to feel like she can take this over and confidently continue to grow it. So she says, you know, can we do some, where else are you going now? And I said, well, you know, we've been working, even though we've been on the cruise and in Canada, and they're beautiful places. When you're working, you don't actually rest when you're doing it. So it's nice places to work, but you don't really see much of it. So I said, well, actually, you know, it's my birthday on the 11th of February. And by this point, it was about the 5th of February. And I said, so actually, we decided that we've always flown through LA, or we've gone to LA and I've spoken at an event, or I've attended an event, and then we've flown back again. We're actually going to go and see Bob, and we're going to go stay and we're going to have some fun. And she said, oh, well, you know, I want to come with you. Can I come with you? I'd really like you to work on my brand. If I pay you a significant amount of money, will you do that? And I was like, Barbara, money doesn't mean anything to me. No, you know, I've done the work. I'm going out and I'm on holiday now. Well, that night she puts 5 figures in my bank account, and she says, I really, 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 really want to work with you. It's like, oh, okay, all right, just one day, but we'll have to do it on the 9th of February. So I've got a day off, and then it's my birthday. I want to be completely, you know, have a great time. So she says, yeah, all right, we'll do that. So we work together. And that night we go to Bob's, and he's done this great barbecue, and we're sitting there eating this barbecue. And Bob says, you know, hey, Sammy, do you like roller coasters? And I said, well, I used to when I was a kid. Why? And Greg's going, she loves roller coasters, my husband, right? He's throwing that in. I went, shut up, you. And he's going, no, she loves roller coasters. Why? What you got in mind? And we thought he was thinking of like some theme park or something. And he says, well, I've got this great virtual reality suite. He said, you know, after dinner, I want to show you this VR suite. So he's basically converted one of the bedrooms in his home to this massive VR suite. So me, Barbara, my husband, we all go traipsing into this virtual reality suite. So Barbara, she's like 70. She goes in, she has a whale of a time with, you know, all these different programs that Bob puts on. And then he gets this roller coaster on, and he said, right, Sammy, so he gives me the headset and I've got these gloves and things on, and he said, okay, so and what I see in front of me are different options, and there's like a red, an amber, and a green, just like a traffic light system. And he says to me, okay, so Sammy, select the green one. And I'm looking at this red one going, holy shit, I don't want that one. Oh my God. Like, it looked like a nightmare. Right. And Bob went, oh no. I said, what? And he said, you focused on it for more than 3 seconds, didn't you? I said, I don't know. He said, you're going red. Oh my God. I can't even tell you how sick I felt. This thing threw me around all over the place. I had to take the thing. Well, he actually had to take the thing off of me. They kind of dragged me through to his living room, and I was just laid on the sofa. Barbara's there with this peppermint oil, rubbing it under my nose, trying to bring me around again. I've never felt so sick in my life. And Bob comes and sits next to me, says, you know, Sammy, now's probably not the time for a lesson, but you know, you do get what you focus on, right? I was like, for God's sake, like the master of the law of attraction
That is
to give me this lesson through
so
me
weird.
actually doing it. And he said, you know, I did tell you, just focus on green. And I thought, crikey. And I said, like, how long do we actually have? Like, you know, that was that 3-second rule when you're looking at a virtual reality and you just stare at it and then it selects it for you, because I suppose you're having to do everything through thought with VR. And he said, no, it's the same with life. He said, if you focus on anything for more than 3 seconds, you get exactly what you think about. So, like, I have to literally catch myself. If I can feel myself getting into like anger or frustration or overwhelm, I have to immediately, because I learned that lesson and I just know what's coming if I don't get myself back out of it. But the law of attraction, it's a law. It does happen.
Powerful stuff. Yeah, absolutely. It is powerful stuff. Wow, amazing. I love that story. That is fantastic. And you know, again, if we think about the horses, the thing I always say to people is you'll be riding along and you'll be going to your horse, don't spook, don't spook, don't spook. And you know what? Funnily enough, they do, because they can't process negatives, you know, so you get what you focus on. And their horses are the most incredible teachers of that. If you really tune into your horse, they are telling you a lot. And it just makes you such an amazing, brilliant rider. But you've got to get out your own way in order to do it. And do you know what? I can't say I've 100% mastered it yet. I'm always learning. And I have a gelding instead of a mare who's far more placatable and far more like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll just do what you say then, Mum. That's great. Which is really weird, because when I was in a very masculine energy, I was completely surrounded by female dogs, female horses. And now I'm in a much more female energy. And what I do, I'm surrounded by women all the time. So what have I got? I've got a male dog and a male horse. But there we go. So they're
to give you the lessons that you're meant to have. I must have complete equilibrium, because we've got 2 dogs, 2 bitches, and then we've got a female cat and a male cat. You know, it's really funny, on the marina that we're in right now, they like through COVID, we ended up at this place called Newark. And everyone's like, oh, they call this the Ark, because there are so many animals and people. Like, there's me and Greg, so we literally are 2 by 2. And when we take the dogs out, they go as a pack if we take them all out, so we have to take them out 2 at a time. And so everybody on the marina calls us the Ark, and we're in New Ark, and we were like, oh my God, is this biblical or something?
That is fantastic. Cool. So thank you so much. There have just been like, I'm gonna have to watch it back again and just process all the stuff that was included in there. Is there anything that you kind of want to finish up with, round up with, sum up with, to just kind of bring it all back together again?
I think the key, one thing I know for sure, is that when you are in complete alignment and flow with what your one drop is, like your one drop, not other people's one drop, your one drop is unique to you. As I said, you know, even when we make these one drops, even if we could put 8 of them in the glass fusing kiln at the same time, each and every one of them come out differently. Each and every one of us, we go through the same process of birth usually. Well, we have to go through the same process of birth for the actual conception and, you know, the growing of us, but we all still come out unique and different with a completely different DNA, different blueprint. You know, so just like that one drop, we've got to be ourselves. So So be yourself, because as they say, everybody else is taken. Be yourself. Get into that one drop energy flow. And if you want to get a one drop, just go to www.onedropmovement.com. And we've got the One Drop Movement Global group on Facebook. So go across and join the group. I'm going to be running a challenge very soon. It's all about one drop and how we can pay it forward and be that gift for somebody else. So it's not about sales. It's not about business. It's not about marketing. It's about how we can be showing up and building our own internal community before we get involved and be part of or even grow our own communities. So I'd love for you to join me on that and be that drop you want to see in the world, but just keep
focusing
on being that one drop and start now. Just start right now.
Yes, you just go and click on the link now.
Right now. Just do it. Just start right now and do it for you.
Cool.
Do it for yourself.
Thank you so much. I could talk to you for hours. So
I think we have this week.
I think we have
spoken to each other for ages, and then all of a sudden we've been together probably about 4 hours this week.
There we go. Obviously, that needed to be. So thank you so much, Sammy, for your unbelievable wisdom and your knowledge and for sharing all of that with us. And if anyone wants to ask you a question or get in touch with you, obviously there's the one drop element, but how else can they do that?
Well, join the group, the One Drop Movement Global Group, and or you can go to sammyblindell.com, just my name.com, and you can find lots of resources and stuff. If you Google my name, you'll just find me wherever you want to find me. So if you're best on Instagram, you'll find me there. You can just go connect with me there, or YouTube, or Facebook, or Pinterest. You find whichever way is best for you, and you can just communicate with me through that medium. So I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing one drops together. And thank you so much for inviting me today, Jenny.
You're so welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll see and hear lots more of you in the future too.
Oh, I'd look forward to that.
Bye.
Bye.